Blessed love, I am the Honorable Priest Isaac. I am an official priest within the realms of Rastafari of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. I also hold a certification in the craft of ARCHAEOASTRONOMY from Politecnico di Milano in Italy. Our universe and its maker has always been an intriguing subject for humankind. Astronomy is the study of everything in the universe beyond the Earth's atmosphere. Ancient astronomy is similar, but pays special attention to the physical and spiritual values of stars, planets, moons, and other celestial objects. It also brings in the terrestrial component, being things on an earthly plane, such as plants, human organs, and connects them to the heavenly bodies. In this course, you will learn the makeup of various planets and stars, how to locate them in the night sky, along with their associated constellations. You will also be taught about the earliest civilizations known for their astronomical comprehension, namely Kush, also known as ancient Ethiopia, Kemet, called Egypt today, the Dogons, and the Bozos, as well as the civilization of Sumer. You will also learn about black holes, their nature and origin, as well as how the ancients viewed them. Ancient astronomy is the mother of archaeoastronomy and Astro-theology. Both subject areas are covered by the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. Sign up today. Visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com, for more information.
His belief or her belief should be able to hold their own with their individual concept of God. Yeah. So I'm saying the oldest concepts of a God was seen in Northeast Africa. And one of the oldest of the daddy-os is the Osiris mystery. One of the things we have not harped upon thus far in this lecture series, and I will not harp upon it too much, but we must touch some chords, is the relation between the Osiris mystery and Kadamawe Haile Selassie I. In the second part of this series, again we went through the zodiac constellations and we described the basic theological comprehension or connection with these stars. I would say the basic, because we highlighted again that Revelation speaks of a woman giving birth to a man-child, and we showed that formula seen in the heavens again, and the movements of the sun from the virgin to the man-child, the ruler, the scale, the Michael figure, and the dragon standing before the Michael figure to eat up the Michael figure, just like scriptures that were seen in the biblical narrative, Revelation chapter 12. And the dragon stood before the woman to eat up the man-child before it was born, and conquered by the conquering one that came out on the white horse, that was given the crown and the arrows and and you know, went forward to conquer. And I think it is obvious. No one, I believe, would deny that there is a very mystic connection, correlation, coincidental, if you want to use that term, connection really, between what is seen in Revelation 12 and the path of the sun. Wow, this is interesting. But we passed that already. But we didn't really directly sit on it and point out, well, this is who the archer is, because this is how I look at this. Sometimes I sit in the conversation with many and I absorb everyone's belief. I absorb everyone's idea, and I do not have a spirit to fight against people just because I disagree with them. So people will always talk and say, the Egyptian or the Kemetic, you know, the Neteru, they're principles, but they're not flesh. They're not real people. And these little different things, and I understand what they're trying to say, but you know I don't agree with that. Them is real people. They're real people several times over too. And this is why we can clearly say that Haile Selassie the First has fulfilled the allegory of Asar, of Osiris, of Asaru, of Asor. Asor, you're sure, very sure, Haile Selassie has fulfilled it. Our first official DVD documentary, The Master of Ceremonies, the Divinity of Emperor Haile Selassie I. That is one of the main aspects of that documentary, making the connection with Haile Selassie I and the character in the drama of the Kemetic vibration known as Orion, no, Osiris. That's interesting. Them names sound very close to Orion and Osiris. So this Osiris now eventually became Orion. In the same way that the hunter went up into the sky and became Orion, Osiris, Asar, who was given a banquet where 72 individuals came who proved themselves to be traitors. And these 72 took him and placed him in the coffin. And we know that he was crucified, just like the other 16 crucified saviors and the other 15, if that's the case, and they're more than 15, 16, and even 19 and 20. But yet still, he was crucified, and yet still he was cut up into many different pieces. His wife, Empress Isis, took him, the pieces thereof, and put him back together. And poor Anubis mummified him. Tahuti recorded it. And Asar, Osiris, resurrected, brought forth Heruan, the Horus, Immaculate Conception. And Osiris, on his resurrection, according to the Kemetic philosophy, ascended and became the constellation, not of Orion, but became the constellation Sahu. Sahu is the name of Orion. Because the story of Orion is different than the story of Sahu. It is because of these things why we would tell people You can't just be teaching people that Jesus is black and nah, man. And some people would say, even amongst I and I as Russell, Jesus is just the English term. We can't get caught up in the term. Nah, man. Sometimes you have to check the term. Because in the same way as I would always say that Jesus is not Jesus, Jesus is not the Christ. Orion really is not Sahu, because the Sahu story is different. We've done different episodes dealing with the Yeshua character from the Jesus character. And the true Yeshua, not just complexion, but you go into a whole heap of things, from date of birth, to place of birth, to the language they spoke, to their race then, ethnicity, this whole thing about who didn't have a father and which lineage they're really from. When you break it down, the Jesus character, according to the storyline, is totally different than the Yeshua character. Is just two totally different people. Not just one black and one white. I mean totally different in every way. In every way. Height, voice, tone, what they like to eat, just everything different. And so it's impossible to say that Jesus is or Yeshua is the black Jesus and them kind of thing. No, and Jesus is just another way to say Yeshua and Christ. No. I mean, I can ride with you for conversation's sake, depending on the time of day, you know. But you see, when it comes to the psychological state of mind, sometimes we got to bring these things straight home. So Sahu now is not no hunter. It would be easy to say that Orion is not no hunter, but Orion means hunter. Sahu is the mummified, resurrected one, the Amsu. When you see a picture of Orion in his Greek rendition, in the Greek rendition form, you see a man with like a dead bear on his arm or some sort of animal skin and a club in the other hand. That's not a club, it's a sword. It is a sword. Everyone knows that Orion has a sheath for the sword, lingering off of the Orion's belt, and he has the sword in his hand, raised up high. It's a sword. So the Sahu has a sword, and the Orion in the Greek mythology has a club. But that constellation that you see in the heavens, no matter what you call it, Orion, Sahu, or the fan on the wall, it is a man standing with a sword in one hand and a shield in the other hand. Not no dead animal. You could look and see, those of us who observe the heavens, it is not an animal over his arm, it is a shield, a literal bow looking like shield that he has stretched out in front of the bull, which is Taurus, and he has his sword lifted high. The Sahu constellation, which the world refers to as Orion. Now, what I'm saying here is this. First of all, you cannot take the Osiris character lightly. Asa is one of the first God figure in creation. And even if someone was to say, well, I think the Ptah story is a little old or something, and some kind of thing, and try to get too scholastic and all of that, everything coming from the same place, you know, man. All this coming out of the same pot. I ain't got no problem. It's coming out of the same basket. In fact, the first trinity is Ptah, Asa, and Sokar. So we ain't battling about who first. This is the same family here we're talking about. So Asar, this ancient concept of a God figure, again, directly related to Haile Selassie. The archer that stands before the what do you call it? The scorpion, ready to drive his arrow in the scorpion, where the sun rests on the 21st day of December in what is known as the winter solstice in the northern hemisphere. That is Haile Selassie. The serpent holder, highlight this in 7, that stands on the dragon or the scorpion, the serpent holder, the man in the long robe and the turban. The triangle is the turban. He has the serpent or the snake in his hands. That represents the Honorable King Emmanuel Charles Edwards. We can ask you to reference again the documentary known as 7 for any clarity that you may need. The constellation above them that is referred to as Hercules. He has a crown, the man in the north, the man that went to North America, and he has a sword as well. Marcus Mosiah Garvey. So you can highlight these constellations and literally put them to people, to human beings. And again, this is a vibration that has a high cycle as well, because it may sound strange. But that doesn't mean that you personally have the spirit of the serpent holder. That doesn't mean that you personally have the spirit of the Orion. That doesn't take away the spirit of the dragon slayer from you as well. It doesn't take away the spirit of Heru or Asar from you. But I am saying that there are people that will come that are radiating to the highest of frequency as it relates to the deity known as Ma'at. So that is why you could relate to her as the Ma'at in flesh, because she's carrying, whoever she may be, the highest principle of Ma'at. She may not even be carrying the highest principle of Het Heru, but another woman will come, maybe at another time, with the full Het Heru spirit. That's Het Heru in flesh. You know, spooky vibes and nothing coming out the sky and going to no baby and say, well, inside of you now, no, this is not, you know what I mean, the exorcist. This is just reality. And these things are already divinely ordained through the movements of the stars and the planets and the sun. This is real. So Haile Selassie the First, in his doings and sayings, and I know for sure that my audience has this understanding that I don't have to, belabor the point. Haile Selassie directly being connected to Asar, Osiris, obviously means that Haile Selassie the First is directly connected to the Orion constellation, because Asar on his resurrection became the Orion constellation. Again, let us just quickly revisit the importance of this constellation. We're dealing with astronomy as well. They don't refer to it as Sahu in astronomy. It's the Orion constellation. This constellation, unlike none other, is situated perfectly on the celestial equator. Half of the constellation is in the southern hemisphere and half in the north. Very key. And the celestial equator runs perfectly through it. In fact, it runs through its belt, the Orion's belt, the same belt, one more time, that aligns with these great pyramids that have been established and have been amazing and mesmerizing, I should say. Anyone who lays eyes on them, even those who never see them, are still left in an awe. The Great Pyramid of Giza. The builders understood that the Sahu constellation, and the Orion's belt itself was very important. They aligned their buildings and aligned even down to the chambers with the light from this constellation and the light from this star. It is the phallic or the penis. This is the part of the Orion, the Osiris, Asar, that could not be found. The penis. And the penis has always been very symbolic in Kemetic culture, obviously. It is the phallic which brought to life what we call the oblique, the Tekken. So when you see the Tekken anywhere you go, they all represent the phallic. They represent the erected penis. And it is Osiris' erected penis that is said to be the origin of the concept of the oblique or the Tekken. Listen to me good. It is very interesting that when Haile Selassie I, after going through the Italian-Ethiopian War, which is very, very important when it comes to understanding that saving nature of Haile Selassie, we relate that to the 5 bleeding wounds that the scripture says that Christ bore from the 5th of May 1936 to the 5th of May 1941. We're speaking of the time that was said to have been, according to the League of Nations, Ethiopia being annexed to Italy, but we understand the true story. We know exactly what was going on. Give thanks for Ras Kassa and Ras Imru and the mighty warriors, even all the warriors that stood up, even those that came and joined the emperor, that were even, if you want to say, opponents of him prior to that war. You can't really overemphasize how important this time frame was when all African countries, all countries in the world went under the colonial grip of Europe, all of them except Ethiopia, glorified Menelik the killer man, who ward off the Italians, man, from even the 1890s in the Battle of Adwa. And give thanks again, Haile Selassie I come and defend Ethiopia, said we, as we said, the 5th of May to the 5th of May. And if he did not stand forward, as I said in one presentation that I had with another brother, I cannot see another human being, no disrespect, not even Menelik II, I can't envision someone else sitting in the seat of the Emperor of Ethiopia during the time when Mussolini invaded. That's not no Mussolini invasion, brother. That was all of Europe really invading there. Some of us, we don't understand the scope of what took place. That was all of Europe coming in. And it was the shrewdness of that man, Haile Selassie, that won the war. People talking about England had to come and help, as if we don't understand. Yeah, I'm glad you say that. Go and find somewhere else in history where them kind of science is used, where you can take your own, you can take the brother of your enemy. You can take the brother of your enemy who's really collaborating with your enemy. Look at the League of Nations, Sir Samuel Hoare and Pierre Laval, who sold out Ethiopia. Britain and France sold out Ethiopia. So at the end of the day, when Haile Selassie got Britain to help him, as they say, to run out Italy, come on, meditate on that. Since when? What happened overnight? How did that change? Them is shrewdness, brother. But no, we can't see that picture there. So we sit back and diss. I wish you were the, well, I don't really wish, but if you were the Emperor of Ethiopia, how would you get through? That's what I'm talking about. The conquering lion. So when we say he's the only head of state to address both League of Nations and the United Nations, don't take it as a joke. Listen to in 1936, the 30th of June, and just blessing up the sword at the same time, Haile Selassie, the 30th of June, as he was addressing the League of Nations, man, in Switzerland, 30th of June, 1936. This is the only head of state to have ever done that. And he addressed the League of Nations, that's 1936, and he addressed the United Nations in 1963. Look at it good. 1936, 1963. 3663. And he became the only head of state to address both, listen to me, the only head of state to address both governing bodies of that time, being the League of Nations and the United Nations. That must mean something. Of all the head of states, there's none that can lay claim to that. And this is not just any old body, this is someone else. This is someone that can lay claim to a lot of things that no one else can lay claim to. Kadamawe, Haile Selassie, Asa, Osiris, Sahu, Orion, stands on the north and the south. Orion controls the heavens. He's on the north and he's on the south. The equator of the heavens runs perfectly through Orion's belt. So this Orion, unlike any other constellation, has a sort of dominance over the heavens. Orion is Sahu, because Orion is not the old rusted, dusty hunter that Zeus threw up there and banished him to the sky. Nah, man, this ain't no sad story. We no club and no sheep fleece or whatever. This is the Asaru, the Asa that resurrected out of the Nile and became the Sahu constellation in the heavens. The one with the sword and the shield. Yeah, that's who this is. So he stands, like the scriptures say, 1 foot in water and 1 foot in land. As the river is running through the heavens too. The Milky Way, his sword is dipped in the Milky Way. Orion's sword is dipped in the Milky Way. The Milky Way is the River Nile. This is wonderful stuff, man. So Haile Selassie, who is Osiris, the Asa, when he addressed the League of Nations and then addressed the United Nations, that is symbolic of Orion and the celestial equator passing through him, and half of him on the northern hemisphere and half of him would be on the southern hemisphere. The only head of state, the only head of state to address the League of Nations and the United Nations. That's Orion. The resurrected, not Orion the hunter, the resurrected Asa that became who? Sahu. When Osiris Asa was put back together by his wife, give thanks for the woman and her love. When Asa was put back together by his wife and resurrected by the baptizer, the mummifier, the anpu, it is said that the phallic was not found. And the phallic became the obelisk of today. Someone would say, but you say that already. And it is when Asa resurrected to become Sahu that the phallic obelisk Tekken symbol was established. And when Haile Selassie I visited the United Nations in 1963, when he was going to give that speech, in 1963, I want you to listen to me good. Please listen to me good. Osiris or Asa, when he was battling Set and all of that, when they were coronating him with the 72 people, like how the 72 individuals came to the coronation of Haile Selassie first, when this was taking place, Osiris or Asa was not Sahu. He did not become the Orion constellation as yet. I am telling you, as Haile Selassie, the coronation of Haile Selassie, that is Asa being fulfilled. But just like the Asa story, he did not become Sahu or the Orion constellation as yet. There's something unique about the Orion constellation. The symbol of it, conquering and being on both sides, being in control of the both divide, is very, very, very key. And I am saying that after the battle with Mussolini, 5 bleeding wounds, the resurrection, in 1963, a couple decades after, when he approached the now United Nations to speak to them in depth, the General Assembly, I am saying that was the day. That was the day. And it's not no ego nor boasting, I really not into that. It's just sometimes you have to stamp your thing good, because people will run with it. You ain't gonna get this from nobody else. Even if I'm wrong, I will accept it and let me keep it for myself. Because I know for sure I'm correct. That day, when Haile Selassie spoke to the United Nations in 1963, visited Kennedy and all of that, that was the day that fulfilled the prophecy of Osiris or Asa becoming Sahu, the Orion constellation. That specific day, because that was the day when Haile Selassie I became the only head of state to address both of these august bodies. I mean, the day before, he couldn't fulfill that. Even if the plan was to speak at the United Nations tomorrow didn't come yet. So he was not, at the time, the only head of state to address both League of Nations and the United Nations as such, in the capacity that we are looking at here. I'm saying, the reason why I am saying that this was fulfilled on that day is because, according to the science, it is when Asa becomes the Amsu and resurrects to the Sahu stage or the Orion stage. It is at that time when the obelisk or the Tekken, which represents his penis, is established in remembrance of him. Almost like a tombstone there. They set it up because, it's there. Yeah, I'm just being realistic. When Haile Selassie went to the League of Nations, the United Nations, United Nations, 1963, Haile Selassie gave the Secretary General a gift. His Majesty gave the Secretary General a gift. His Majesty gave the Secretary General and the whole United Nations an obelisk an obelisk, a teken. The day he gonna address them. 1936, 1963, 3 and 6, 6 and 3. The day he was going to address them, he gave them a teken, which represents the phallic of Asa, because he was cut into 14 pieces, some say 16.
Blessed love, I am the Honorable Priest Isaac. I am an official priest within the realms of Rastafari of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress. I also hold a certification in the craft of ARCHAEOASTRONOMY from Politecnico di Milano in Italy. Our universe and its maker has always been an intriguing subject for humankind. Astronomy is the study of everything in the universe beyond the Earth's atmosphere. Ancient astronomy is similar, but pays special attention to the physical and spiritual values of stars, planets, moons, and other celestial objects. It also brings in the terrestrial component, being things on an earthly plane, such as plants, human organs, and connects them to the heavenly bodies. In this course, you will learn the makeup of various planets and stars, how to locate them in the night sky, along with their associated constellations. You will also be taught about the earliest civilizations known for their astronomical comprehension, namely Kush, also known as ancient Ethiopia, Kemet, called Egypt today, the Dogons, and the Bozos, as well as the civilization of Sumer. You will also learn about black holes, their nature and origin, as well as how the ancients viewed them. Ancient astronomy is the mother of archaeoastronomy and Astro-theology. Both subject areas are covered by the Priest Isaac's Institute of Holistic Knowledge. Sign up today. Visit our website, priestisaacinstitute.com, or email us, priestisaacinstitute@gmail.com, for more information.